Hey. So if you've seen the trailers for Companion, then you probably remember how interesting that first trailer was and how it gave nothing away. Then they went and released another trailer, and at the time, it felt like they gave everything away. People were so disappointed, and I don't blame them. But let's be honest, the movie didn't suffer from the reveal. Would it have been better? Was it that much of a surprise? I mean, my boyfriend and my mom did not watch any of the trailers, and my boyfriend was able to guess the twist early on in the movie. And when I watched it with my mom, she guessed it from the title before I even put the movie on. In my honey's defense, I didn't even tell him the movie's title because I didn't want him to get any hints. Anyway, my question has been, was the reveal in the trailer that big of a deal? I'm just thinking out loud here, so let's get into the intro. Hey there, movie lovers. Welcome back. It's your movie buddy here, ready to talk about one of the movies on the shortening list of movies that I need to catch up on. Whether you're a longtime subscriber or follower, or you are here with me for the first time, I am happy to have you here. If you are looking for detailed plot breakdowns, you won't find them here, but stick around for my spoiler-filled thoughts and honest opinions, usually on the latest releases, but right now I'm just trying to get back on track. Ooh, did I say spoiler-filled thoughts? Oh yeah, you heard that right. We are getting into spoilers in today's episode. I honestly debated on making this one a podcast exclusive because we're getting into spoilers. Then I was gonna have two different episodes. I really was all over the place in all areas of my life, and that's why this episode ended up being a week late. So as you guys know, I always try to be spoiler free or at least give a spoiler warning because I personally cannot stand spoilers. There is a detail in the movie that we are going to talk about that is revealed in the trailer. If you've seen the trailers for this movie, then you're good. But if you're trying to go into this movie knowing as little as possible, which I recommend, and you also haven't seen the trailers, then you might want to come back to this video after you've had the chance to see the movie, which is currently available to stream on Prime Video and Fandango. Now, I had to come back and edit this section a little bit because I wanted to add a bit of a heavier spoiler warning. I went through some reviews and I have to talk about the plot because from what I've seen, that was a big source of critique for the film. I'm not going to speak as freely as I do on the podcast exclusive episodes, but this episode will contain spoilers for the plot. I will not give a spoiler warning. I will not add a countdown or text in the top left of the screen. I talk about it throughout the episode, and it would be a lot just to continue to pop up over and over again throughout the episode. So if you have not seen today's movie yet, then now is your last chance to hit pause, go watch it, and then come back to this episode. Or if you don't mind the spoilers and you just want another opinion from someone online, then I got you. With that all out of the way, get comfortable, grab your popcorn, and let's get into today's episode on Companion. A weekend getaway turns bloody and violent when a subservient android that's built for human companionship goes haywire. That synopsis is short, simple, and interesting, but Companion is so much more, giving us an interesting exploration of abusive relationships that can be triggering for some viewers. It brings up themes of abuse, control, and how far that can go to the point of physical danger, to the point where you know you need to leave, but you can't. These ideas are what really elevated this movie for me. While the trailer reveals that she's an android, we can assume a sex bot, right? We can also assume the direction this is going to take in terms of the abuse. Personally, I don't think I knew how they would approach this, and I don't think I was expecting it to be so bold. Now, I have to bring up a comment I saw online where someone said that, quote, "The latest in rogue AI movies this time has a surprisingly romantic twist. A new, happy, newly in love couple both retreat for the weekend at a lake house. After the party is over, it soon then turns to murder and chaos as the girlfriend of the guy she met and fell in love with is a sex companion robot," unquote. That was kind of hard to read that, but I think it's important to note that part of this quote is what you'd expect this film to be on the surface. Companion is more like the latest rogue AI movie that looks like a romance, but it's hiding a darker twist. More realistic, if we're being honest, am I right? It's not even rogue AI now that I'm sitting with this. It's autonomy. But I guess when something doesn't do what it was programmed to do, then it's rogue. I know you guys can't see me, but I am throwing air quotes all over the place right now. Going against programming or rogue, like if your partner isn't doing what they're programmed or conditioned to do, then they're going rogue, when in reality, they're finding their agency. Now I'm rambling a little bit, but you get where I'm going. Getting back to that comment, they say a happy, newly in love couple go on a retreat for the weekend, and going back to that agency versus conditioning, she was programmed to love him. And what did he feel for her? I mean, that's an entirely different conversation, but let me know what you think about that in the comments. Let's move on to the triggers. We talked about it for a bit, but there are depictions of an abusive relationship. There is yelling, aggression, and again, it does escalate to physical abuse. There is quite a bit of blood, and there is attempted SA. These are the triggers that stuck out to me, but please do your own research if you feel like you need to. As always, I'll start you guys out by leaving a link to the website, Does the Dog Die? But beware of spoilers. And of course, make sure you're in a good headspace before watching. Now let's talk about what worked. We're going to talk about the acting and the writing. I think the entire cast does an effective job for the most part, and their performances really felt above average, and their chemistry is fantastic. Megan Suri as Kat is interesting. Honestly, I just wish Kat and Iris had more screen time together. Lucas Gage as Patrick had surprising range and really stood out. Harvey Guillen as Eli is the standout among the supporting cast. I love his chemistry with every single person he interacts with, and he is absolutely hilarious. All right, now let's talk about Sophie Thatcher. I'm gonna be honest, I think this is the first real solid extended performance with range and all that I've seen from her. I saw her in the Book of Boba Fett and Maxine, and let's be real, that was not a real showcase of what she can do. Now that I've seen what she can do, I am obsessed. I do have Heretic on my watch list too, but one thing at a time. Anyway, Sophie Thatcher delivers an incredible performance as Iris. It all seemed so effortless, being the attentive in-love girlfriend to the complex android struggling for autonomy. Moving on to one of my favorite Nepo babies, who is just making a name for himself, breakout star of the Hunger Games, Jack Quaid. On a serious note, he's really made a splash with me as Huey in The Boys. I love him as Josh because he plays such a nice and genuine guy so well. Several reviews said to be prepared to see him like you've never seen him before, and I have to agree with that. But I have only seen him in a few movies and TV shows. Anyway, I will say that he and Sophie Thatcher act so well together. I love their chemistry. I don't think one really outshone the other, but personally, Sophie steals the movie and commands attention in every scene she is in, just because I think her character is more interesting. I'm rambling a little bit, but wrapping up the acting, Jack Quaid just as effortlessly goes between a sometimes distracted boyfriend to, honestly, a sad, pathetic loser. That sounds bad to say, but he plays that character really well, but you know what I mean. Like I said at the top of this section, I think the acting overall was really strong, especially given that this movie is intentionally a little cheesy and has that layer of dark humor. I would say a lot of this movie works thanks to the acting and the writing. Writer-director Drew Hancock crafted an incredibly interesting film that has a predictable narrative, but it still manages to surprise you. The relationship between Iris and Josh is really well done, and they take their time with building this connection without it feeling drawn out. We then get that escalation and the point where the story shifts, again, without feeling drawn out or rushed. This shift in tone and pacing works because Companion is bold. I saw a comment online that said you have to be all in with material like this because if you show signs that you're holding back or easing off, it can quickly fall apart. This 100 times this. The commitment to escalating the story coupled with the acting make this movie stand out. However, not everyone feels the same way, which is totally fine. We're going to get into some criticisms about the movie and I will share my thoughts along the way. Companion has generally well-deserved positive reviews, but the negative reviews are just... I'm going to have to change sources for these negative reviews, you guys, because these were kind of rough. The first person comments that this movie is literally unwatchable and that they can't stand looking at all the positive reviews to the point where they wonder if people are getting paid for the positive reviews. They continue to say that the plot is amateur and the pace is so slow, you can see the twist coming a mile away, and finally, that it's cringe when they do the reveals. First of all, I wish I was getting paid, but I am not getting paid. Yet. We stay manifesting, and in the meantime, we're having fun with it. Now, is this movie unwatchable? I mean, we can't all be wrong. 94% on Rotten Tomatoes as of writing this episode and an 89% audience score. I will agree that the plot was predictable up to a point. This is why I posed the question if the trailer reveal really ruined this movie, because it's so much more than what was revealed in the trailer. There were definitely some things that were predictable, but there was so much that still caught me by surprise. Next up, someone said that the movie was average at best, with a weak plot, okay acting, and it was predictable, saying that if you've seen iRobot or Megan, then you've seen this movie, but those are better. I cannot with some of these comments. These aren't even remotely similar movies. Just because there is a robot, they're the same, I guess. I mean, if you agree, cool. But no, I've mentioned this before, but this is all preference. Everyone likes what they like, and we don't all have to agree. Last but not least, we cannot have a movie about a woman's autonomy without a comment saying that it's woke. Being inclusive is not a bad thing, and if you think so, that's fine. Just don't watch the movie. I mean, I can enjoy this movie as a fictional movie, but I can also enjoy it and understand that there is commentary on the treatment of women, the treatment of AI, all while exploring an abusive relationship. It's doing both, and it's not a bad movie because of that. Now, let's wrap up with my final thoughts on the movie. After discussing some of its elements, the real question remains: is Companion worth 1 hour and 37 minutes of your time? In my opinion, absolutely. If you haven't already seen it and you're interested, and I know you might be thinking that I gave a lot away here, and you are totally right, but there is still more to this movie that I think might surprise you. One of the critiques I read said Companion was like an inferior iRobot or Megan, right? Which got me thinking. I would say this movie is kind of giving an ex machina, don't worry, darling, Renfield type vibe while carving out its own space. It's unique enough, the acting is great enough, with a blend of dark comedy and thriller, the tonal shifts are enough to really make this movie stand out. All right, before we wrap up, let's talk about what's coming up next. I still need to share my thoughts on Heart Eyes. It recently became available to stream. I think I'm going to post that one on the podcast to give myself an easier week next week, because I pushed myself this week, you guys, and I posted my thoughts on Novocaine today too. If you're on YouTube, you can click the link in the top right corner, and if you're listening to today's episode on the podcast, that episode is available for you as well. Also, a quick shout out to anyone that voted on the poll, because I was really convinced that YouTube shunned me to a dark corner. I appreciate you. Moving on to theater releases, I did get myself a ticket for Death of a Unicorn, but The Woman in the Yard also comes out that weekend, and I really want to see that movie too. I might have to watch both. I mean, we'll see. But for now, a huge thank you to everyone who has stuck around with me to the end of the video. Last time we talked, I shared my thoughts on Captain America: Brave New World, and I didn't hate it, you guys. I understand the hate, and I understand the critiques, but I had a good time. If you haven't checked that episode out yet, you already know. It's just a click away. If you're watching today's episode on YouTube, you can find the link to that review in the top right corner. And for my podcast listeners, that episode is available for you as well. Your feedback is always appreciated, so please share your thoughts on YouTube in the comments below. And if you're listening today on the Spotify app, swipe up and let me know what you're thinking. Do you agree with my take? Do you have a different opinion? What are your thoughts on Companion? Did that trailer show too much? You know, I remember seeing that trailer on TikTok and I was like, what the hell? They just revealed she was an android, and I really felt that it was meant to be a big deal. At the same time, I'm thinking they wouldn't drop their biggest reveal in the trailer, and surely this movie still had something up its sleeve. I'm glad I was right, but my question is, did that trailer ruin the movie for you, since you already knew Iris wasn't human? I'm interested to know what you guys think, so let's get the conversation going. I know this episode was a little more spoiler heavy, but if you are enjoying the content on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an episode. If you enjoyed all of those juicy little spoilers in today's episode, then you guys should definitely check out the podcast. Follow me on Spotify so you don't miss out on our podcast exclusive episodes, which are full of more and more spoilers. Now it's that point in the episode where I would plug my Instagram, but due to current events, I did uninstall Instagram and I will not be updating it, but I am on Blue Sky at @ARocketReview, all one word. I've never really used Twitter or X, to be honest, so I'm still figuring out how to use Blue Sky. To be completely honest, I keep forgetting I have it on my phone, so I'm working on it. You can find me there. Your support, whether on YouTube, the podcast, or Blue Sky, really helps this community grow, and it really means so much to me, and I cannot thank you enough. Until next time, spread positivity, and please, please, please be safe. It's getting worse here every day in the US, so please take care of yourself and take care of the people around you. Take breaks from the news, stay hydrated, don't forget to eat, and a friendly reminder that it is okay to distract yourself. So happy movie watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.